Greetings everyone, welcome to the Impressions, where I present a game and you'll decide if I piqued your interest. The review premise is the perspective of a casual player with constructive criticism and an occasional sprinkle of game development insight. Today's game is Jusant, an artistic project from French developer and publisher Dontnod. The studio is known for impactful games like Life is Strange. Apart from that one, the players might recognize other titles created by the studio. For example, Remember Me, Vampire, and released in the February 2024, Banish's Ghost of New Eden. Jusant should be considered an indie project with its art style and play length. My first encounter with the title was a demo version during the Steam Next Fest of 2023 autumn. It got my attention and here I am presenting it to you. The game's plot is very enigmatic. The opening cinematic shows a female character with a purpose to climb a mountain in the form of a tower. The detailed purpose is slowly revealed through player exploration and lore correction. Quite early, the game also shows the heroine's companion, a small blue creature of unknown origin. The world appears as post-apocalyptic, as the game title suggests, post-ebb. All of this is in the first chapter, presented in the demo version. Unfortunately, the demo was removed after the end of the Steam Next Fest. The gameplay loop consists of two main elements: climbing with environmental pathfinding and collectible-like activities. The climbing mechanic is easy to get the hang of. The player navigates through the environment using all different ways to reach the next part of the world. The heroine's movement is climbing with hands, a rope, and jumping towards obstacles. In addition to protection from falling, the rope allows its winding and unwinding, wall running, and swinging. As to controlling our heroine, I would recommend using a controller rather than a mouse and keyboard. The controller triggers act as the character's hands, and each trigger is pushed by the forefinger of each hand. Easier control instead of right and left click on the mouse when the player uses forefinger and middle finger for character hands. Additional mechanics to the climbing are collectible-like activities located throughout the world. First are the shells, which can be listened to by our heroine and give an odd glimpse into the location's past. Another activity is rock cairns, where our heroine adds another rock. It makes a simple monument for all climbers progressing on this path. The sides of the path are connected to frescoes and altars. The first one give a dive into world lore and are activated by our little blue friend, while the latter are activated by our heroine and depict stories of the land and its history with the tides. The last available activities are collecting letters and journal entries. Most of the letters give a look into the everyday life of previous inhabitants of the mountain tower, yet the journal entries were written by another climber on the same path and expedition to the top of the tower, and those become quite relatable to the player controlling the main character. The blue creature has an additional function, a sort of energy sense that helps the heroine and the player to locate tower objectives and points of interest connected to the tide structures, frescoes and altars. Yet the player is left with his perception, sense of direction and ability to find secrets. Next to the sense, a creature's energy burst aids the player by creating a reaction to the surrounding world. The aesthetic of the game reminds me of watercolor paints. However, they are much more vibrant and it feels like a combination of cel shading method with realistic grading tonal shading. Again, for those unfamiliar with any of these terms, there are definitions on the screen and the source links will be in the video description. How does it work in-game? The game definitely stands out visually, which confirms the artistic approach of the Dontnod studio. Everything looks genuine and creates a sense of a puzzling tale. The user interface is almost non-existent, as the game focuses on climbing and experiencing the storytelling. There are few UI elements for managing the character's stamina or UI markers helping with objectives and control inputs. All this is so non-invasive that it blends seamlessly into the overall gameplay. All the visual effects are created within the game's aesthetic. They are utilized in a way that makes them a uniform part of the world. What might bring the attention of the player are the heroine's animations. The craftsmanship of them is of a high quality, everything feels lifelike. For example, there are different running animations while moving on the stairs. The audio layer of the game is also designed uniformly. The ambient cues with sound effects create a believable environment of the tower and its locations, residential or lore-wise. A tranquil square is another storytelling layer, complementing the climbing and journal entries. Considering I was intrigued by the demo and decided to play the complete game, that's a testament to itself. The relaxing vibe of climbing and, as mentioned, the enigmatic world and story drew me in. Let's go through the game elements and rate them. The mysticism of the missing tides and the unknown origin of the blue creature makes the player curious and eager to unfold the secrets. The world has depth and a past which feels natural and authentic. I'll rate the story as 9 out of 10, it was profound and made me want to discover more. Yet the enigmatic final chapter left me a little unfulfilled, it felt more like a cliffhanger than an ending, giving more questions than answers. Also, it had, as I assume, a message relating to our world outside the window. Climbing is very straightforward and everything is mostly easy, apart from a few environmental pathfindings which might present a small challenge. The collectible activities make the journey intriguing and varied. The rating for climbing and activities is 9 out of 10. At times the character behavior was glitchy with connecting to grab points. The shells or rock cairns don't have many variations, interaction repetition is noticeable. Nevertheless, the level design team hid a lot of the activities, and it was very well done, which made finding them even more satisfying. This created replayability for completionists like myself. The artistic visuals of the game look very good and work nicely in each of the chapters and biomes. I was missing a little more detail in the environment. It's apparent that the visibility of climbing points and points of interest has priority. I wish that environment wasn't mainly composed of flat gradients. I have no complaints about the user interface or visual effects, both are, as mentioned, designed uniformly with the world, making them an enhancement, a finishing touch if you will. It's a huge upside that animations are so well crafted, as the player constantly looks at the heroine and how she moves. Rating the entire visual style will go as 8 out of 10. It's well done, yet during my first playthrough, there were a few hiccups with loading the next world portion. It seems that those issues were addressed in updates. It's nice to see developers utilizing the world partition feature in Unreal Engine 5. Thanks to that, the player can go through the entire game without a single loading screen. More information about the feature in the description links. Yet, as I said, there might be short hiccups and FPS drops during those background loadings. The audio is designed incredibly well in both the gameplay and cinematics, very natural and realistic. Surprisingly, there weren't any issues with the reverb while changing the area type from open to close and the other way around. I'm gonna go out of a limb and rate it 10 out of 10, simply because the soundtrack also works very well as a listening experience. If you enjoy listening to game music with uplifting and positive vibes, inspired by the classical music, I highly recommend checking out their soundtrack by Guillaume Pharaon. The one word that comes to mind when thinking about Jusant is peculiar. Everything about it is very intriguing. The players should not expect a game heavy with lore, it is a very relaxing gameplay with some things to discover. Yet many questions are left without answers, so the player as a recipient can make his own theories. The whole game is rated 9 out of 10. A pleasant package could be presented as a climbing simulator with an additional story. The whole game is highly artistic and enjoyable, yet I believe there could be a few expansions to the experience. This part is after the verdict because the following feedback shouldn't alter the whole experience or the game's reception. It is just a list of my "it would be nice to have" things. Number 1 is voiceovers for Bianca's journal. It will make the climbing experience much more immersive if the player could listen to the journal on the go instead of stopping by and reading it. I am aware that, for the localization process, this would require hiring actresses for different languages. Apart from that, it will also require much more elaborate implementation in the levels to ensure the playing of journal voiceovers at the right moments. Yet, I do believe it would really elevate Bianca's climbing tale. The second one is additional visuals to the shared listening part. I don't mean a full-fledged showing of the past, but some spectral accents of what was before. The show's purpose is to make the player imagine the past, although having a little nudge towards the expectant vision would be more consistent. The third one is expanding the visual style. I do like the playing colors and the painting approach. However, even in classical paintings, details come to light if the viewer looks closely. Having a normal map for each type of material could allow for such close-up details, and it would break the omnipresent world color flatness. The fourth one, while being a minor thing, could be expanding the rock cairns and shells, differentiating the visuals and potentially adding more interaction with the character, like a little scare of the cairn falling down. Having more than just a mechanical interaction would bring more life to the heroine. That's all there is. This is my critique and I stand by it. All the links are in the description. Thank you for watching and see you on the next one.